When a man gives you the silent treatment, your first thought is probably to ask, "What did I do wrong?" But what if his behavior says more about his own problems than about any fault of yours? Often, what people push away in others is just a part of themselves they don't want to face. So why does a man decide to ignore you? What is he hiding behind that cold act, maybe even from himself? Men, just like women, have hidden parts of their personality they try to keep in the dark. Man who ignores you might be doing it because he feels insecure, is afraid of getting close, or even thinks he's not good enough for you. He can't deal with those feelings, so he pushes you away instead. The truth is, his biggest weakness is often the very thing he's trying to hide. So what makes him act this way? Is it just his pride, or is he secretly scared that paying attention to you might show a part of himself he wants to keep buried? His silence isn't a sign of strength. It's a symptom of an inner fight he likely doesn't even understand. They say that until you face what's hidden inside you, it will control your life, and you'll call it destiny. Is it possible he's really in charge? Or is he just a captive of his own issues? This is where a lot of women make a big mistake. They see his silence as a challenge. They try to prove they are worthy to grab his attention and to figure him out. But real power comes from focusing on yourself, not from desperately chasing someone. What happens when you stop caring about his silence and instead pay attention to what it reveals about you? What if you see that a man's biggest weakness is often his inability to cope with the feelings he has for you? You are about to understand something that he can't even admit to himself. And once you get it, his silence will never bother you again. He goes quiet and ignores you because he's sure you will always be there. He thinks he can come back whenever he wants and find you waiting for him, ready to give him a little bit of your attention. But what happens when that certainty is gone? What happens when he sees you are not the predictable person he took for granted? A wise person once said that our biggest mistake is thinking we can control things we don't understand. The reality is that a man only feels your absence when he realizes the security of having you around has vanished. His weakness isn't leaving. It's his belief that you will always be there to make him feel good about himself. When you stop reacting, stop showing interest, and stop giving him that constant attention he was used to, something shifts. You're no longer a side character in his story. You become a puzzle he can't solve. This is where he starts to feel conflicted because people are afraid of what they can't predict. Doubt can be more painful than loss. Think of how many women get caught up in trying to get the attention of a guy who is ignoring them. They post things hoping he'll see, check if he's viewed their stories, and try to stay on his mind. But all of this just feeds his idea that he has control over you. You don't have to prove a thing. The game truly changes when you realize that your absence means more than any attempt to be noticed. When he sees you're not messaging him, not reacting to his life, and not trying to be seen, a space opens up in his mind. The woman he thought he knew is gone. This is the first major weak spot of a man who ignores you. He only feels in control as long as he believes you're available. When that belief is gone, he feels so unsure that he might start to wonder if he lost something important. When you disappear from his radar, he begins to feel an unease that wasn't there before. That presence he counted on is missing, and you're essentially giving him a taste of his own medicine. The silence he used to control you now starts working against him. Our minds look for balance, and when something that was always there suddenly isn't, the feeling of its absence gets stronger. If he was comfortable ignoring you before, now he starts to feel uncomfortable. That empty space you left behind starts to feel heavy. Soon, he might start showing small signs, like viewing your posts or leaving a quick comment as if to say, "I'm still around." The difference is that now he's not sure you'll be there for him. The attention he got for free, which made him feel important, has now become his greatest weakness. His second weak point is the security he feels when he knows you're waiting. Men who play on a woman's insecurity do it because it makes them feel powerful. If he thinks you can't live without him or that you're afraid of losing him, he feels safe ignoring you. But that all changes when you show him otherwise. When you carry yourself with confidence, not with a fear of being alone, something in him gets thrown off. As they say, what you resist sticks around. When a man feels he's losing the control he thought he had, he starts to feel uncertain. The game changes when you build your own self-respect and stop chasing after his scraps of attention. A woman who knows her own value doesn't need to beg to be noticed. Her confidence makes her attractive. When you get to this level, you take back your power and also shake his confidence. He no longer knows for sure that he can ignore you and come back anytime. That's when he starts to think, what if she's not there when I decide to return? Before we get to the next point, think about if you've ever been in a spot like this, where a man ignored you because he knew he could get away with it. When a man pulls away, he often does it with the attitude of someone who thinks he's the center of your world. He feels special, like you can't be happy without him. This happens because many women, without knowing it, feed this idea. They pour all their energy into him and forget about the other parts of their own lives. Whatever you put your energy into is what will grow. If all your energy goes to a man who ignores you, you're just making him feel more powerful. But what if he suddenly saw that he's not the only thing you care about? The third weak spot of a man who ignores you is that exact feeling of being your one and only. To break this pattern, you need to challenge this idea that he's superior. The best way is to focus on your other relationships with friends, family, and people who make you feel good. Maybe you've drifted from them while focusing on this man. When you reconnect with others, your life gets richer and more colorful. You start to see that he isn't, and never was, your only source of happiness. This isn't about finding another man to make him jealous. It's about broadening your own world. When you build up your social life, you meet new people and your own. Energy becomes more appealing. At that moment, his feeling of being irreplaceable starts to disappear. People are afraid of losing control over what they think they own. When a man sees he's no longer the main focus of your life, he starts to feel what he made you feel: uncertainty. Another one of his big weaknesses is his need to feel needed by you. Many men think a woman needs them for support, which gives them a false sense of power. But when you show him your life is full without him, and that you choose who to be with rather than need someone, everything is different. You are no longer the needy woman he could ignore. You become an independent woman who doesn't need anyone to be whole, and that is intimidating. It means if he wants to be in your life, he has to bring something good to the table. This is where the power dynamic flips. He can ignore you if he wants, but when you change and grow stronger, he no longer has the same hold over you. He sees that he's the one losing, not you. A man's ego is one of his most delicate parts and also one of his biggest weaknesses. How we see ourselves is often a reflection of how others treat us. When a man feels wanted and appreciated by a woman, his ego gets a boost that makes him feel in charge. But what happens when that source of validation is gone? When he no longer gets that automatic attention from you, he feels exposed because the thing holding up his confidence is gone. The simple truth is that most men don't see how much a woman's presence means until she pulls back emotionally. You don't have to play games or physically ignore him. The real change happens when you stop treating him like he's special. When he becomes just another person in your world, it messes with his head in a way he can't explain. Our minds work in symbols, and when a man feels that the woman who once put him on a pedestal no longer does, he feels like he's losing something important, even if he doesn't know what. He gets used to being wanted without having to do anything. For it, the moment that validation is gone, something in him starts to shift. What was once easy comfort becomes a need he doesn't know how to satisfy. This is where you have to stay ahead. Instead of begging for his attention, you simply take that energy back and give it to yourself. You become the woman who doesn't need him to feel great, and that change makes him see he lost something he took for granted. The smart way to affect his ego is to use the principle of give and take. Relationships are like mirrors. If you are always showing him admiration and desire without getting it back, he will never feel the need to value you. When you give him your trust and affection, you have to be sure you're getting the same from him. If he thinks he can have it all without any work, he'll never see your true worth. This is why so many women end up feeling disappointed. They give everything, hoping that one day he will finally see it and give back. But this is the change you need to make right now. A woman who knows her worth doesn't give it all away for nothing. She knows there must be a balance. The whole situation shifts when you understand that how a man treats you is a direct result of how much he thinks you value yourself. If he feels he can ignore you and you'll still be there, he will never be afraid to lose you. People have a natural tendency to test boundaries to see how far they can go. Many men do this in relationships without even knowing it. They pull back and act distant because they assume the woman will still be there no matter what. But what if that certainty was suddenly gone? When you stop giving him free validation and take away the security he felt, his ego takes a hit. He was used to your attention being a given, something he didn't have to earn. The second he realizes he has to work for it, he feels something new: insecurity. Our minds look for familiar patterns, and when a woman suddenly changes her behavior, a man who thought he was in charge starts to feel a deep sense of unease. He realizes the rules have changed, and now he's the one who has to prove himself. This is the difference between a woman who is valued and one who is ignored. The first one knows her attention is a prize, not a requirement. She doesn't chase or beg. And when a man feels he might lose her, he has to rethink his actions. His need for control turns into a need to be wanted by you again. But the key is that at this point, you are no longer looking for his approval. You've become the woman who decides who gets to be in her life. This change in thinking is what makes him finally see what you're worth. For this to really work, though, you have to be genuine. This isn't about faking it or playing games. It's about truly knowing you never had to beg for anyone's attention in the first place. The biggest mistake a woman can make is hoping a man will one day see her value when she doesn't see it in herself. What you accept from others shows what you accept from yourself. If you settle for less than you deserve, you're telling yourself that you're not good enough. That belief has to be broken. Imagine what happens when a man sees you no longer need him to feel good about yourself. Imagine his confusion when he realizes he no longer has the control he thought he did. That's when he feels fear. Fear of losing you. Fear of not being important. Fear that he made a huge mistake. And that's when you finally have the power. In the end, the real question isn't about him, it's about you. Why did you accept so little when you've always deserved so much more? If you've spent too much time worrying about a man who ignores you, maybe it's time to put that same focus on yourself. Did you put your self-worth in his hands? A woman shouldn't have to prove her value to someone who can't see it. The truth is simple. If a man thinks he can ignore you and not lose you, he will never truly appreciate you. You are the one who teaches people how to treat you. You set the lines for what you will and will not accept. If you haven't been valued, maybe it's time to change the entire dynamic. Deep down, this isn't about him. It's about how you see yourself. If you keep attracting men who ignore you and don't make you a priority, it's time to look inside. When did you start thinking you had to fight for someone's attention? A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to beg to be seen. She shines on her own. And here is the key point. The man ignoring you today might look confident, but he's actually afraid. He's afraid of losing control, of not being the center of your world, and of realizing he threw away the attention of an amazing woman. If you strengthen your self-esteem, become your own person, and never again take less than you deserve, he will feel that shift. He'll have two choices: either learn to value you or realize he never had power over you at all. But you should ask yourself, do you really want someone who only sees your worth when he's scared of losing you? Isn't it time to want someone who chooses you without games or tests? A woman with options doesn't get upset over one man who pulls away because she knows that real love doesn't need to be forced. It just flows. If you have to fight just to be seen, maybe it's time to stop fighting for him and start fighting for Siri. I'll see fighting for yourself. What you've learned isn't just about making a man miss you. It's about becoming a woman who never has to ask for attention again. It's about becoming someone who lives her life because she knows that loving herself is what attracts everything good. When you change your own energy, the world around you changes too. And that man who thought he could ignore you will suddenly find himself trying to win back what he lost. So I'll leave you with one last question. Do you want to stay in the same place, hoping a man will finally see your value? Or do you want to become a woman who never has to worry about that again because she already knows who she is? The choice is yours. In the end, what makes you powerful isn't the effect you have on him, but the way you see yourself. Once you learn that, you will never settle for less than you deserve.